Hi, this video is about this artwork right here. I'm going to explain how I made it, why I made it, and a little bit about my struggles along the way. So if that sounds interesting, keep watching. I've always loved creating things, and my avenue has mostly been digital. I grew up with computers, and ever since I was a child, I've made things like vlogs, photos, online games. But this past year, I've been very discouraged making digital art or digital content. And you can probably guess why. It's because of this new kid on the block called AI. I've been using AI myself for many months now, and it's both amazing and terrifying. It's amazing because it makes my work so much easier. Suddenly I can make amazing renders, product shots, commercials with half the effort it took before. But it's also been extremely terrifying to see the fast progress that AI has done and to know that it's based off other artists' works. It's probably based off some of my digital content out there. Anyway, since AI is mostly online and since most of my work is online, that has been very discouraging for me. Why make something that AI can make better? Or why make something that the AI will train on so somebody else can steal it with minimal effort? These are questions that I've been struggling with when creating digital content. I try to remind myself that AI is just a tool and it's how you use it that's important. But for me, something positive came out of this, because all of this have led me to want to branch out into the physical realm with my creations. I started to paint traditionally a little bit, made things like this, but it's very hard, mostly because I'm a beginner at this physical creation thing and, well, I think I suck. So since my expertise lies in digital creation, I wanted a way to combine both the physical and the digital. And that's why I took the leap into 3D printing, and that is how I made this artwork. So before this, I was basically a complete beginner to 3D printing. I had only done it once before, and that was with an FDM machine and with help from my teacher. But the fact that I was going to make something physical that I could touch and smell, that was very exciting. At first I was skeptical, because the FDM machine that I used, that costed tens of thousands of dollars and it was, very, very big. But then as I did more research into 3D printing, I realized that as all electronics, it had gotten way more accessible for your average consumer. So I decided to go for it and I ordered my very own 3D printer. And now all I needed was a model to print. While waiting for the printer to arrive, I modeled this simple flower as a test print of sorts. And thankfully, I'm not a complete beginner in digital sculpting as I am in 3D printing. I have many years of experience, so simple 3D modeling comes easy to me. However, there was a lot of new things involved in the digital process that I hadn't done before, like placing supports in the slicer software. So this was something new to learn. Thankfully, there are many great tutorials on YouTube and you can learn basically anything today by just asking Google. My very first print turned out okay. So this isn't my greatest design, but I just wanted something to test out the printer. I decided to keep working on this idea of making a flower. I really wanted to push the limits of my 3D printer and see what it was capable of. And since a flower can have really intricate details, I thought it was a great first real 3D printed project. After some sketching, I came up with this idea of a modern and minimalistic vase that had stems sticking up from it. And on the top, I'd attach some abstract flowers. For the vase, I decided to use a parametric design tool that allows me to manipulate points and curves. And with this, I could play around with this form of a twisted cone until I found something that I liked. I wanted this piece to have more depth, so I decided to leave a small opening on the backside of the vase. My thought process here was to expose the root system as a reminder to appreciate the hard work that isn't always seen. This also helps me make this sculpture more interactive. My plan was that when the sun shines through the opening, you will get a small glimpse of the roots, hinting that there's more to this piece than meets the eye. This hint would encourage the viewer into interacting with the piece. I wasn't sure if this would work since I was unfamiliar with the material, but after some experimenting with my first print, I thought it was worth a try. When I was happy with the vase and the root system, I went ahead and designed the flowers and leaves. For the leaves, I first modeled a standard looking leaf. To add some texture, I used another parametrical design tool to make a growth pattern that created this organic coral looking pattern that I really liked. I was eager to try my first print, so I quickly learned how to convert my model into code from my machine, and my first real print was about to be born. So in hindsight, I was overzealous. Because the first print went so well, I thought that this print would go smoothly as well, but this is such a complex piece compared to this piece. Most of the things on this failed. The leaves completely broke. They were way too thin, and the handles here on the flower were also way too thin, so they broke as well. The flowers actually held, but I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, these look awful. I knew I didn't want to use them, so I tried painting them yellow, just to try. I showed my dad and he said they looked like macaroni pasta. And I kind of agree. Anyway, it was great because I could experiment with things like glue, and I could try writing on them, and I could try painting them. So something good came out of it anyway, even though they failed. Only thing I really liked was the shape of the vase. So the texture came out great. If you look closely, you can actually see these, you can see the polygons that comes from the mesh from the model, which I think is really cool. I guess you could erase that in the computer, but I just think it's really neat. And the opening in the backside worked as well. So the material is translucent enough that when you shine through it, you can kind of get like a hint of what it looks like from behind. So the opening worked, and yeah, I just think that the shape and the organic twisted cone, I think it turned out great, so I was happy with that. So this motivated me to really pursue this idea. However, I realized the importance of making a flower that actually resembles a flower, so that the viewer would immediately know what they're looking at. So after some more modeling, I settled on this quite recognizable 8-petal pattern with a round-shaped floral center. I used the same algorithmic growth pattern on the petals and made sure they were solid. This way I could make sure that the pattern on every petal was unique and that they would actually print properly. If I thought I wanted to give up before, it was nothing compared to now. The root system had several broken branches. Some of the leaves misprinted again, but now in a completely different way that I had no idea how to fix. The handles printed successfully, but during cleaning they got clogged with resin, so they were way too small to fit any leaf. I also somehow changed the scale, so this print was about half the size of the first print. But there is good news as well. The flowers turned out great. Delicate, slightly abstract, and most importantly, they could be printed. So once again, back to the modeling board to make some adjustments. While making the adjustments, I felt like something was missing. Of course, a third stem with a third flower. The rule of odds, a classic design principle. In my opinion, the third flower really creates a sense of balance and harmony in this piece. Let's see how it looks in real life. Well, it looks great. I like the extra flower. It's a better composition, more like a bouquet and not a pear. But there are more broken stems, more broken flowers. One flower completely fell off and I found it floating in the tank. A lot of this comes from my inexperience with the new support system. The model needs support because there is suction during the print. If the suction is stronger than the supports, prints will fail. But I won't give up. I really wanted to finish this piece. During this time, I also got the idea of only making a limited amount of these prints. I'm usually not good at seeing things through, and with this project I wanted to develop the skill of finishing things completely. And by only making a limited number of creations, I can ensure I've completed this project fully. I decided to set the limit to 7 editions, and my plan is that when print 7 out of 7 is printed, the digital files will be erased and I can mark this project as 100% complete. So I started to design a certificate of authenticity to go along with my creation. And I etched in the edition number inside the vase, only slightly visible from the opening. And after this I was ready for print number 4. Finally, a great print. Nothing broke, nothing fell off, this print is going to work. The certificate is also great looking. I'm really happy, but the work is not done. The models did require a lot of post-processing. I wasn't ready for this, but for me to be happy with end results, I had to do several things after they were printed. The basic necessary post-processing is the IPA wash that removes the liquid resin, and then the UV curing of the resin. But I had to do more for me to call them done. First of all, I had to sand them. These supports leave quite a bit of a mark, especially the heavier supports. So I sand this with ultra fine sandpaper to try and remove them. After sanding, I spray paint them with regular white color. And you may ask, but Frank, they're already white. Why would you paint them? Well, I noticed that the paint really does bring out the details. It adds more texture and everything becomes more nuanced. Take this leaf for example. Here it is before paint is applied and here it is after. The difference is huge. And after everything is painted, I sand it again to really try and remove those support marks. And then I paint again. When all the post-processing was done, all I had to do was to make a few promotional videos and take some great photos. I made some stop animations and some b-roll that you can find on my Instagram. If you're still here, I'd like to say thank you for following along on my artistic journey. If you want to read more about this piece or see more images, you can go to my website frankadrian.art. And I'd like to end this video with encouraging you to follow along with your creative endeavors. Even if you're scared, like I was, I had no experience with this 3D resin printing, but I knew that I could learn along the way, and that is usually the best training. So if you have something that you don't know how to do it, just go to Google, go to YouTube, search for tutorials, search it up, and just try making it. I mean, I had to make several iterations of this before I got the final piece, but I learned so many new things along the way. There will be more projects coming from me. I have some projects in the works already, so stay tuned for that. Take care and thank you.